on behalf of the Central Alberta Real Estate Investors Association, my name is Sean Claremont. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the event here today. So this is our first kickoff event for the 2018-2019 working year. So nice to see that we have actually almost a full house. It's fantastic. So a little bit of change in venue from where we're usually at. As Cindy mentioned probably to some of you, Central Alberta Trading Zone is actually booked up for the entire month. So we're going basically to try this out and see how it works. So there will be, the waitresses will be coming around, taking food orders and drink orders if you guys want, anything like that, so by all means. Before we kick things off too much, our lawyers like to remind us to include this disclaimer, and basically the information that's presented here, Central Alberta Real Estate Investors Association, we are now actually officially a non-profit corporation, just got incorporated here last May, I think it was. And basically, the information that's provided here, we want everybody to take a little bit of it for yourself. Right? I mean, you're going to hear some testimonials from people, right? You're going to hear success stories. You're going to hear failure stories. In a general sense, just because it worked for somebody doesn't mean it will work for you, and just because it didn't work for somebody, it could work for you as well, right? So, in a general sense, we always recommend that everybody gets professional advice before doing any deal, right? Talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant, right? Probably don't sign any checks on the first meeting. I mean, if that's your tolerance, then so be it. Yeah. So today's agenda. So Cindy's a little bit under the weather today, so I'm actually going to be doing all the carrier introductions and everything else. And then once that's finished, we're actually going to go around the room, so everybody will have a chance to give introductions to themselves. Some of the things, of course, we want to know. We'd like to know your name. We'd like to know your history of real estate investing. We'd like to know specifically what you're hoping to get out of these type of events that you're coming to. And the other piece of it is that if you do have anything specifically that you're looking for, what I suggest is allude to it in your introduction, and then at the very end, we're going to have open discussions and deal presentations if anybody has anything. Okay, so who are we? As I've already mentioned a little bit, so we are a nonprofit networking group, and we really want to share the information that we learned with such far, right? So we've got some professional real estate investors in the room, right? Professional in the definition that that's all they do is a job, right? Quote unquote, right? They basically live off their business. We've got some people who have done some deals and still have some semblance of job, maybe full-time, part-time, whatever the case is, and we have people who haven't done anything, right? And maybe because they're brand new to it, they're not quite at that level of comfort yet, right? We've got a kind of wide variety of our purpose is to really create a place where people can find like-minded individuals and professionals, power team members, some of your advisors, right? I mean, there's a tremendous wealth of knowledge in the room you can capitalize on. Contractors, mortgage professionals, real estate lawyers, basically anybody that also supports the real estate industry, particularly the investment side, is really interesting. Education, guidance, coaching, mentors, opportunities, and then also leverage from the group overall. So this is an actual official board at this point in time. So we haven't gotten the finalized documents from lawyers quite yet, but basically what's going to end up happening is that for the first working year that we have, this is going to be your board. So Cindy Dooley, she's a Realtor Associate with Realty Executives in the bedroom. And she is also our president, so specifically one of the founders of the group from a couple years ago when we started it. So my name is Sean Claremont, as I mentioned. I'm an investor. I also work for Realtor Homes and Developments. I'm a partner in the company there. And specifically, I am the executive director for REIA. And Danelle, who is back there, and she is a senior mortgage associate with Place Mortgage, and also a carrier director as well as our corporate secretary. So, mission statement really, we want to be the premier real estate investing association in Alberta. We've got a fairly grassroots movement behind this, right? I mean, really, when we look at it, I mean, it was only a couple years ago we were meeting in the back of Glenn's Tea House. I mean, we still had good turnouts, we still had a good membership base and everything else. But our focus has really been to kind of get this organized, right? We want to make this a little bit easier for everybody as we're doing the thing. So, and really, the vision, what we hope that everybody's going to achieve is financial freedom through real estate investing at the end of the day. So a little bit different of a structure here for the 2018-2019 working year. So our sponsors specifically, Realtor Homes, the company that I'm representing, home and land development company, primarily focused more in the, I'm going to say, Red Deer County, Lacombe, Black Falls area. A Place Mortgage, represented by Danelle, mortgage broker's office here in town. Danelle is also a very active real estate investor, and she's actually our investor presenter here today. Cindy Dooley, Realtor with Realty Executives, as we mentioned, and also Alex Floric, who is not here, okay, but he's one of our sponsors, actually representing Servo Property Inspections as well. So we do have actually 6 sponsor spots left. So kind of your logo here. I changed the format a little bit, but really the thought process behind the sponsor spots is that if you would like to actively sell to the room, right? You've got a product or service, something that you feel would be complementary somehow in the real estate investment world. We do have a sponsorship package that you can style into that. So sponsors, if you have a sponsorship, that actually gives you an hour slot in the year where we're actually going to put you up here as a sponsor. Cindy is our sponsor today, right? And basically what she's going to be doing is she's going to be presenting her services and how what she thinks that can help you and your business. So why join? So we've got a mix of both actually active full members in the room. That means you actually hold membership, right? And that whole membership structure thing is going to change substantially here this year, particularly now that we're actually a non-profit corporation, because that means you get to vote and all that other kind of stuff. So more news on that coming. And specifically what we want to do is we want to provide you guys with education, give you some guidance. We want you to be able to leverage the group. We want you to do local networking. A lot of us in this group who have done deals have done deals with one another, right? Some of us have been able to provide money to deals, right? Some of us have had a deal and we haven't been able to put it together. Some of us had contacts in the industry, right? So that's really the root of what we're trying to accomplish here, right? So membership benefits, so annual fees. So we had a little bit of a discussion over this over the summer. And basically what we're going to do is we're actually setting the annual fee for memberships to $180 a year. So how we kind of came up with that number is it's an increase from last year, but if there's one thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to be able to provide more services to the profession, right? So one thing that we're starting to realize is that being able to put a little bit of money into advertising, be able to actually hire web developers for some of the stuff instead of always trying to just kind of thumb through it and try to find the time to do it and everything else. So as well as pay for room fees, foods, all that other kind of stuff. Monthly meetings, of course. So we do run 10 meetings between September and June. We take the summer months off because typically everybody's got better things to do than 10 meetings in the summer. Access to the website. We're going to be looking at building a little bit of a back end for the website here this year. Some of you guys, and I mean some of you maybe even just found Carrier this way. Right? You go to the website, you basically fill out your information, comes to me, I follow up with them, and hopefully eventually they become members. So. Newsletters, something we're looking at this year as well. Networking events. We do also have a cash flow group that's kind of tied into this loosely, so it's something we're going to be doing a little more this year. Futures, right? So discounts and incentive programs. I just spent 2 days in a more of a traditional capital raising course, and I met one of the owners of Group Desk downtown. Right? So something that some of the members mentioned is that they would actually like to be able to have an office somewhere, or clients or potential investors or whatever the case is. Group Desk is very much like a co-working type space. So anyways, the owner was great. Told what we got going on. He's more than happy to offer a discount for Carrier specific members. So some of those things that we can kind of leverage, as well as preferred contractor pricing. Once you have a membership base, again, you can kind of leverage that to individual contractors, whatever the case is. Even having a group as a whole, right? I mean, if somebody knows you're a Carrier member and Carrier's got a little bit more of an established presence, right? If the contractor does a really garbage job for you, guess what? Right? The whole room is probably getting hurt of that. So. We value opinion. Again, we really want to know what you'd like to see. The format of the meeting has changed a little bit over the last year, right? So again, this is our second year running on this, so we've been kind of just tweaking and tuning as we go along. We're really trying to figure out what people want. Now we brought some big, I'm going to say larger ticket speakers in kind of last year, right? We had John Simcoe come down, actually one time as a presenter, right? He pitched his RSP mortgages course and raising money through RSPs. That there was about half a dozen of us went down to Kelowna and attended that, right? So that was fantastic. We've got some other names that we would like to be able to draw in the Central Alberta area, right? To specifically speak to real estate investing topics. That's a lot easier to do when you can say that, we have, consistently 20 or 30 members at a meeting, right? Again, those guys typically they might be trying to sell to the room, who knows? But typically they want to be presenting to as many people as they can, right? So take action. So for anybody who's not here, or anybody who here who's not a member, your first meeting is free, right? So you don't have any obligation to buy a membership today. Of course, we hope you do. So, and specifically, if you are interested in that, just let myself, Cindy, Danelle know. So we've got a really easy e-transfer process and everything else. So take all the muck out of it. And specifically want to move into introductions. So, Cheryl, would you like to start?
You stand up?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Cheryl. I'm just was one thing last year, just mostly to learn to get the groundwork right now. I haven't really got any investments. I'm getting pretty close. So right now I'm stuck in my job, but I like my job too. I'm registered here, so
My name is Kevin Dooley. I'm financial controller for manufacturing company. Started working with Sean. A number of years ago. College. That's it. And we both share the same vision for the state of students. We kind of both have Realtor portfolios that are along the way, so I've got 4 properties here. I'm looking for ways to kind of that gap. So I'm looking for ways to expand that, whether it's turn into market deals or raise money for new properties. That's my story. Sure, stick to it.
Tim, you going with this?
Hi, I'm Tim Berry. I'm a real estate investor. I'm just getting into it myself. I've been actually doing this for a couple of years, but haven't actually been doing it. It's hard to get going when you're not familiar with everything. Sometimes you just need that kick in the butt. But this group, I find already, is giving support beyond what I actually thought I was going to get out of it. So I encourage anybody that else is trying to get moving forward with their career, utilize the people that are in here, and the people that they bring in are very, very helpful in getting going forward. So thanks for having me.
Steve?
Hi folks, my name is Steve. I'm new to real estate investing. New to this type of meeting. A bit uncomfortable talking to a bunch of people that I don't know. We're in the real estate syndication business. And we're here to learn a little bit who you guys are and what you're going to do together. Thanks, sir.
My name is Joe Kenny. I came down from the Grand Prairie. Last name is because we mentioned Steve and I are partners. We've both been investors for about 12 years. It's kind of important. And we've been doing paper assets. I've been paper assets. I've some single family homes. We recently moved into for multi-family real estate. As you mentioned, we're doing real estate syndications. We're actively involved in getting our education and finding partners to help us get into some bigger deals, so bring us some more back end on it. So we're at.
Well, thank you.
Hi, my name is Brett Unlock. I'm calling, and it's my first meeting, so I'm just trying to get into it and see what you guys are all about. I've been hearing about it for the last year. Just trying to learn what I can.
and I'm Colleen, Brett's mom. We are looking mostly for Swedish homes, and I managed properties for several years in the past, but I sold them all and looking to get back into it.
I think that's awesome to hear from you guys back.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Gail. This is my husband Jerry, and we're into doing some rentals in Innisfail. And like Tim said, we've been part of this group for a couple of years now, and there are a lot of resources. So I like to encourage you to talk to people and find out what each other is up to. And there's some interesting energy here that you can draw from.
Speaking of interesting energy.
I thought that was the segment. My name is Ryan. I have a company named Stratford Martin who we do buy, fix, and sell. I have 6 projects going right now in the buy, fix, and sell, all in Edmonton. And so, yeah, just here supporting Sean and Cindy and the whole team.
Super nice. My name is Matt. I'm a realtor from Winnipeg. Just here checking out Sean and maybe learn a few things.
Did you make the flight in?
Yeah, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Shelley. I have been a real estate investor for a couple of years now, but primarily in Tampa Bay. Cool. So we're from here. we actually sold our home to go down there and do stuff down there. So we did really well. Market's currently flooded, and I decided to kind of not do the fix and flip down there, and we're moving over to multifamily. When I was there, though, I led a TV REIA, Tampa Bay Real Estate Investment Group, subgroup, not the actual main group, but the subgroup. So that was a lot of fun. So these groups are awesome. I'm really happy to be here. Make some connections with some people for sure. So, because this is really all I do.
Well, I mean, we love your input on the format and what things can improve.
Yeah, and like for I'm actually being coached right now for multifamily in the U.S. So I will always share everything I learn. So anybody that's interested in that end of things, I know a little bit, learning more. So definitely would be willing to share. So,
I don't mind asking.
Tyler Chef.
Okay, I was Roger Steve, that's why I asked.
What's that?
I said I was Roger Steve, that's why I asked.
Oh, from,
Florida.
yeah, he's, we used to do it in Sarasota, right? Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah,
he's
out of Sarasota, yeah. Yeah, not far, really close to town.
well, he's got a lot of investments in Tampa too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
My name is Danelle, and I'm a mortgage broker and real estate investor. I'm going to be one of the presenters today, so I'll give you a little bit more background on myself then.
My name is Sean Impey. I'm a real estate investor for about 20 years. Multifamily, condos, single family, investor focused mortgage broker. So I work with guys like REIA and that to fix and flips, private money, anything like that. And I've done a lot of it myself, so I'll give you a few tips and tricks along the way as well as finding the money you need.
Hey, Mike Patterson. Just getting into it, much like Steve, this is our first time joining a group like this. My wife Lisa and I, we've done a couple flips over the years, but now we're getting coaching and now we're really getting into it. So we're here looking to just talk to like-minded people and maybe to partner in some sort of investment properties going forward.
My name's Lisa, sort of already introduced, I guess. I'm here with Mike. Like you said, we're just getting into it. We've done our primary residences. We're just in the process of buying our first real flip, so it's kind of exciting, and we're looking to get more education, investors, all that kind of stuff. Any knowledge we can get is what we're here for.
My name is Tyrell. I'm into the whole concept of wealth building, not just through real estate, through other means necessary. Other stuff that gets higher end interest is one of the things I'm really interested in. And I'm currently working on a project to get university and college students to own their own homes so that when they graduate college, they sell the homes and get most of their tuition back. And that's been taking up a vast majority of my time. You're looking at going into the States as well. We're just waiting on paperwork and NDAs and partnership agreements so that we can start West Coast, Central States, as we get down there.
Fantastic. Good.
My name is Mary. This is my first meeting here. My husband and I have two single-family homes here, suited up and down. One is a legal suite, one is a secondary suite. We're in the buy and hold. We're not flipping. We're at our age. We're looking for income. So the last few years, we have not been able to make the numbers work quite the way that purchases years ago did. So our last two purchases have been joint venture real estate in commercial and multifamily, and it's a hands-free, somebody else manages it. So that's what we're doing right now. And I'm here for the learning too.
Good, congrats. Let's see if there's one open in the back and one up here too.
My name is Chris. It's my first time here. I just own my own home now, but I'm looking to purchase investment property here soon. I'm just here to learn as much as I can, because I'm having trouble finding a place where the numbers seem to work. So I want to talk to some people and see how you guys do it, and hopefully find something. So.
My name is Derek Bagley, retired. I've been doing real estate investing for a couple of years now, but still very much green. I've got one unit in Edmonton, which I'm busy trying to sell. If anybody's interested, I'll talk to you. Thanks.
I'm Michelle, it's my husband Barrett. We've been with church since the beginning, and we currently have 3 rental properties. 2 of them are legally suited, one of them is a house that we fixed up and rent out on our farm. And yeah, that's basically about it at this particular point. Now we're looking to start getting into joint ventures.
I'm Cindy Dooley. I'm going to be presenting as a realtor part of this presentation here. Thank you all for coming. I started real estate investing after I became a realtor and bought myself a whole bunch of education to learn about real estate investing. It's just so fascinating, so that's where I'm going to take my direction is real estate education and teaching people how to do that. So I personally own 4 doors, a half duplex suite in Silver Lake. I bought that under agreement for sale. And then I have a townhouse that I used to live in and I rent out now, as well as a single family house that I just acquired through a joint venture with my dad. So pretty fascinating. Love to share everything that I've got with you guys.
Hi, my name is Nicole. We have 1 rental property, and it's in Springbrook, and I'm just learning how to do it through Cindy, and also wanting to maybe joint venture with some other people or hopefully get another investment soon.
And I'm Sean. So in addition to my work with Carrie, I am an active real estate investor. So I actually focus primarily on rent-to-own. So I've got 4 that I own personally, as well as 3 with joint venture partners. My focus on the past is, I'm going to say probably 6 months to a year, has really kind of been more on the capital raising, primarily through registered funds, so tax-free savings accounts, RSPs, or ESPs, pension plans, all that kind of thing. Specifically putting that into real estate development projects, and also doing some lending as well. So a little bit of everything. I love it all. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to do as a piece is specifically getting involved. So probably the most common question that gets asked is, I'm new and I don't know what to do, right? I don't know what I don't know. Okay, so with that, this might be kind of an interesting little segment. So, and I'm gonna kind of maybe take a wild stab at the room kind of thing. And I love this quote, Scott Adams. So ideas are worthless, executions are, right? And if there's one thing that has been probably a consistent issue, not saying any one personality like the case is, but the consistent issue is that it's very easy to get stuck in the analysis process, right? It's very easy to crunch the numbers again and again and again and again, right? And pass up on deals. And just get to that point where, I can't get comfortable with risk, or I can't control the risk factors, so what if this happens, right, and all these things like that. And there's one thing that's really interesting, I mean, the entrepreneurship mindset in general, you will always have all these ideas bouncing around your head, right, and it'll typically be more than once at the same time. But in the reality of it is that all those ideas are absolutely worthless until something actually happens, right. I was in a 2-day raising capital class, more of a kind of a traditional raising capital class with private equity firms and stuff like that. And they talked about this quite a bit, where they have investors, or I should say actually entrepreneurs, that come to their private equity group in Calgary, and they actually treat it almost like a little bit of an angel investing platform. And they say, I've got this great idea for doing something. I expect everybody to sign non-disclosure agreements and everything else, right? I have absolutely no sales. No, I don't have a web presence. I don't even know who my customers are. Right? But I got this idea, and it's worth $2 million. Right? And the one thing you're going to find, whether it be real estate investing or even just investing in general, is that the numbers and the metrics don't make any sense to that. Right? So this is more of an encouragement to just kind of everybody to take a little bit of action in that regard. So a little bit about us and our presence, and specifically again, most of your membership. So our meetup page, just out of curiosity, how many people learned about the group from the meetup page and specifically came to us? Okay, perfect. Yeah. So our meetup page is really our kind of public, localized, broadband method of advertising. right? So a lot of people, even myself included, a couple of years ago, found out about this specifically through the meetup. Now, we do have a Facebook page. We're at 82 likes right now, and it is very much on the broad side of things, right? If I look at the kind of the demographics of who's on our Facebook page, I mean, we got people in Central Alberta, Red Deer, Calgary, a couple people in states, whatever the case is, right? And a lot of times people are just following it strictly to kind of follow the content. And then specifically, we have a members-only Facebook group. There's currently 22 members in it, so I know that there's still a couple members, actually full members in the room that haven't joined it quite yet. So if you're one of those people and you're wondering how to get in, let me know, and we can talk about that specifically. A couple other things. So let's talk about that. So in that group, specifically, what we try to do is that we do record all these presentations. There is a camcorder going off in the back here. We normally have mics to be able to pick up everybody very well, but having technical difficulties today. So speak loud if you're going to be up here. Specifically, what we want in the group is we want people to be posting deals, right? Responding to those deals. If there's anything that you think that's interesting, networking as well as organizing events, right? You want to do a pub night and get a bunch of real estate investors together. Have at it, right? I mean, we're not trying to monopolize this by any means. So, a couple things actually. This was new as of June, but this has been something that's been developing quite a bit. So I am an admin of both the Central Alberta Landlord and Property Owner Tenant Info page, as well as the Central Alberta Landlords Association. And CALA is specifically an offshoot to CARIA. Now, where you're going to get a lot of value of this is that we actually treat this like a tenant registry, right? So if you have a bad experience with a tenant, we want you to post about that bad experience, name as much information as whatever it is you can. So the next time that you have a tenant who applies to your property, you can run their name through these groups and hopefully not have to learn the hard lesson that somebody else did. So if you're not a member of these already, please go into it. The Chris Noble, who was the guy who kind of ran this originally. Now, what I told him is my vision for the whole thing was to kind of put everything together. But there's about 400 people in this group and 200 people in this group, and we're still kind of dealing with some of the bureaucracy on things. So at any rate, get in there. If you have had bad tenant experiences, please post it, right? I mean, as real estate investors, as landlords, we want to specifically make sure that we are supporting one another, and this is the best way to do that. Right? I've already seen a couple people already who have applied in my properties and seen some of the mayhem that they've caused, unfortunately, to other real estate investors. So. Hello.
You can go up
So, what can you do? So, a couple things. Carrier appreciates your promotion in any way, shape, or form. So, again, this is very much a members-focused thing. Word of mouth, family, friends, business associates, just like the capital raising is mentioned. Specifically, we expect that, I mean, if you're getting a lot of value out of this room, we do appreciate you saying that to the people that you know, right? This is ultimately how these groups grow. The more people we have, the more investment opportunities, the more people that are partnered with, the more people that are winning, right? So a couple things specifically, social media. So we are very much social media facing, or at least trying to get that way, right? Facebook is probably our biggest presence. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Meetup. I mean, there's a couple different things. Right? What I would suggest is that, I mean, and this is more, you're doing this more as a gratuity for us, but I mean, if you find that you're getting a lot of value about this, feel free to blow it out there. Right? Leave a review on the Facebook page, tag yourself in here, right? Post a status update saying, oh, I'm in the carrier group, whatever the case it is. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, it's only getting value out. Specifically, you know what? Do some posts, put some pictures, some videos, some live streams if you want to do that. We're going to have a couple different things that we're going to do throughout this year. We've got a couple different ideas, some events that we can do. We're probably going to do a little bit more social media based on that, right? Share the events that you come to. Leave us a review. So we've got one review from Sean Empey. Thank you very much. 5 out of 5 stars. Appreciate that. And also, if you're part of the groups or even if you're part of the page, right, feel free to bring up discussion topics. Right? I mean, if you're having an issue, you got a question about something, you're probably not the only one, right? So there's hopefully somebody that can give you some information and solve that for you. So specifically on the investing activities side of things, so just because you may not have a pile of money, or just because you're not dialed right into the real estate investing industry, there are still things that you can do. So everybody, when you think back to Robert Kiyosaki's Dad Poor Dad, right? I mean, the big focus was to be specifically working for free and getting their education that way, right? I can tell you that there's a handful of people in the group, who would be more than happy to trade some of their experience if you gave them some administrative help, because there's a lot of administration sometimes in real estate investing. bird dog, you want to run around and find deals, or even if you know of a deal that's in place, whatever the case is, right, bring it to other real estate investors. If you feel comfortable enough to actually wholesale, but it's actually wholesale properties, whatever the case is. Again, I mean, there are real estate investors in the room who will buy your wholesale contracts specifically, so they don't actually have to go and find these deals themselves, right? We'll talk a little bit more about the specifics of wholesale later on. Joint ventures, right? And this is, I mean, really the sky's the limit in this, right? You can joint venture on flips. You can joint venture on, we call them BRRRRs, right? So buy, renovate, rent, refinance type properties, right? Get all your capital over the rental property. Rent to owns, right? I've done my joint venture rent to owns. Partners that I have, they brought all the money and they hold the mortgage, right? I did all the work. So it's just straight off the relationship that we have. Lending side of things, right? You might actually be surprised that in a lot of situations, if you have let's say $20,000 in your pension or in your RSP, you can become a lender very, very quickly and get very attractive rates as compared to what you're probably getting at the banks. Maybe not. Network. Right, volunteer. Carrie always has things that need to be done, right? I mean, we all kind of do this and kind of donate our time in it, right? So somebody would like to volunteer their time to do anything, we'd be very interested in talking to you. As well as host, right? So if you want to host a cash flow game, you want to host a carry event, kind of like what we're talking about, those are all options. So this is just one thing I want to talk about really, really quickly about getting involved. So as I kind of alluded to earlier, I was just in a 2-day raising capital course, and it was specifically put on by Central Alberta Access Prosperity and Catapult, which is a entrepreneurship incubator that actually just started in Central Alberta here about a year ago. And what they've done is they have partnered with a company out of Calgary called Valhalla Private Capital, which is a private equity firm, venture capital firm, and specifically the Valhalla Angels, which is an actual angel investor organization, right? So people with very deep pockets who have incredible risk tolerance kind of thing, right? Injecting money into early stage companies. What they've done is because what they found is that they were having a lot of trouble with people showing up at a venture capital firm's doorstep and say, hey, I got this idea, it's worth $2 million, I haven't done it. Right? So what the thought process behind Basecamp is that they've got a Basecamp focused specifically on entrepreneurs, and they have a Basecamp focused specifically on investors. And the whole idea is that it makes entrepreneurs better prepared to pitch to investors, and it makes investors ask better questions of the entrepreneurs than we actually have. This all actually ties into what's known as the EDGE Investment Forum, and specifically there is a movement to try to get more investment in general into Central Alberta, right? Investment capital available for people and firms and everything else, ideas. Now, the challenge with this whole thing, right, so Valhalla Basecamp, the next Basecamp is being held November 22nd to 23rd. It is free. It doesn't actually cost anything. If you're interested in attending that, let me know. There's no upsell or anything like that. The catch to this whole thing is that if you attend, or if you say that you're going to attend and you don't, then the credit card that you have to secure, of course, you would get charged $750. I just spent 2 days talking about Caria and the value and the quality of our members and everything else. So if you do that, I'm not going to be very happy. Just putting it out there. The switch to this whole thing, though, is that Valhalla and the private equity firm does not invest in real estate. They don't do oil and gas. They just like people with MBAs. So I basically got outed right from the get-go on all that. And they love hustlers, right? This is kind of what they focus on. These are the types of firms that are actually injecting capital into, you've got some sort of creative method of different vertical farming technology or something like that, right? And you want to do something for that. Like the types of companies where like 70% of them fail, right? That's a certain amount of people who get 10 times their investment out of it. That's ultimately what they're looking for. The big benefit of this, though, and what I'm going to suggest, is that they do go into a lot of detail on company valuation, how to exactly value a company, specifically some of the different capital raising strategies and instruments that are available to you, actually selling equity in your company, what that looks like, working with actually big investment firms, as well as elements of the pitch. So while this may not be specifically related to real estate investing, I'll tell you that I got a tremendous amount of value out of the 2 days for it for basically nothing. So, if anybody's interested in this, please do come talk to me about it. I'd like to maybe just kind of vet and just make sure that you're not going to show up there and say, I'm showing up specifically to try to fund a flip kind of thing, because that's not what we want to hear. But if you do have an idea that at least you can use to get to the door, I think it would be worthwhile. Okay, so I'm done talking. We're going to go into our investor presenter, Danelle. I put them in this all here.
This one?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just introduce myself a little bit further now. So my name is Danelle Cole, and I have been a mortgage broker for the past 15 years. And I also started investing around the same time. So I've always been super passionate about investing in real estate, and that just, I guess, kind of led to my career. So switching from a degree in psychology and then over to mortgage brokering. So totally different, but I have much more fun. I love playing with numbers. I love investing. I love property. So 15 years I've been doing it. Now I'm a mother and blended family with 7 children, so I'm super busy. But I still dabble in real estate investing on the side a little bit here and there. So today I was asked to talk more on my experience with real estate investing than so much my career as a mortgage broker. So I'll share a little bit of some of the investing that I've done over the years, and I'm sure it in no means compares to what some of you guys have done or some of my clients, my sophisticated investing clients that do or have 30, 40, 50 doors at a time. So I do a lot of work with investors in that means, but I have dabbled and experimented with a number of different strategies. So I'll kind of go through all the different strategies that I've done over the past 15 years. And it's, you guys kind of know what kind of questions you can ask me. That's the one thing I love about this group. It just creates a nice opportunity for joint venture partnerships where we can all kind of lean on each other for experiences. So we know what different people are looking to get into, what they have experienced, and lean on each other for that experience, or also set up some good joint venture partnerships. So I do a lot of joint venture work with clients of mine that have RSPs and like to do RSP investing. So, okay, let's see. I did just a quick little summary of just some of the investment properties that I've done, just so I can kind of remember. So I started when I was 18, so I found it really interesting. You were talking about training people that want to invest in college and get into investing and pay off there. Sorry, what was your name?
Tyrell.
Tyrell, yeah, I'll teach how to do after because I'm super interested in that whole concept. That's what got me started. So when I was 18, I built my first home with Mason Martin, and a 6-bedroom home, complete up and down, and I lived in 1 bedroom and I rented out the other 5 bedrooms. So that kind of put me through college and university and got me started in my investment portfolio. So after a couple of years, I sold that home, and it was just kind of that time in the market where property values were starting to go up. So I bought another home and sold it a year later. I didn't even do any work to it and made a nice chunk of money, which allowed me to go into my next 2. So then I bought two gorgeous properties out in Poplar Ridge. So for any of you that don't know where that is, it's about 10 minutes outside of town. They're all kind of acre parcels. In a nice little subdivision area. There's a little school out there. So I bought 2 properties. That area is really mostly developed with high-end homes, but they're just on the outskirts. There was 2 properties that had mobile homes on them. So I bought those and renovated the one mobile home. All new flooring, paint, cabinets, basics, sold the mobile home. And then I was free to build on that one. So I built a really nice, upscale, gorgeous home. I had a blast doing that. I had taken a course at REIA College before that on contracting, so that kind of gave me some experience. My dad was a framer, so we built a gorgeous home. We ended up selling that for about $950,000, and then my goal was to build my home on the next property beside it. That was interesting though, because I hired family. I hired my dad to frame the home, and it took him a super long time. And just during that time, property values started to drop a little bit, so we ended up, and then the cost of it actually went over what I was expecting. I'm sure you guys have heard that scenario. It always ends up being a little more than you think. So had to get some private financing on there, and so longer period of time for the bills and private financing that costs money. So I still ended up making a little bit at the end of the day, but not as much as I was hoping to build my next gorgeous home with a lot next to it. So I ended up just selling the lot next to it. Things had changed at the time. And then I bought a home in Orland Park. So I bought it without a builder as a rent-to-own with the intention of turning the basement into a basement suite. And so I put a down payment down, and I was going to build some equity in the basement suite and then mortgage it myself. So I did that. I did the basement suite, made a legal suite in the basement, and property values had dropped a little bit more. I actually walked away from that one. So even with my down payment and putting a basement suite, the values of the property had dropped so much that I just wasn't buying it anymore. So I liked that I had the opportunity to actually walk away from it. That was kind of interesting. So I did that. Then I went to Highland Green. So in Highland Green, there's some rural housing in there. So I bought 2 properties. I bought one that I lived in, renovated it a little bit, and did a flip. And then another one I bought as a rent and hold. And then that's when I had my first experience with actually having a rental property and having to deal with roommates. Or not roommates, sorry. Before that, I was just roommates with tenants, yeah. So I had some good tenants, and then near the end, experienced some not so good tenants. So I have to tell a little bit about my experience there. So by the time I got back into the property, it had been about 3 months of non-payment on rent and having to go through the whole legal battle trying to get them out. And when I got back into the property, the guy had been so upset with me because he thought I had called child services on him and his children or something, and absolutely had not. But anyways, he was just so mad, and so he had done whatever he could to leave the property in terrible state. He had left the toilet upstairs leaking to the point where the kitchen underneath, the lights were like falling out of the roof because it was so wet and soggy. So I had to replace all of that. He left a bucket of rotten fish in the middle of the kitchen and some other not so nice things I won't even talk about. But yeah, that was interesting. So, I got out of that, and then I ended up buying a property in Innisfail, and did a full legal basement in that. It was just a completely unrenovated basement, and then I turned it into a legal property, and then I put rental tenants in it. And so that was actually about 3 years ago I did that one, and the tenant we're just in the process of qualifying him on his mortgage and helping him buy the property. So he's been in it for about 3 years now. And there's some really good return on that one once we added, we picked it up for a good price, and once we added that basement suite, and he's had his mom down there renting, and it's really good. So I like doing little rentals. What else? And then I did a sandwich lease in Sylvan Lake, so I bought a duplex, both sides of the duplex, and I ended up wholesaling that one, so picked it up for a really good price, and I'm marketing it as a rent-to-own. I think that rent-to-own tenants in it, and another investor came to me. He loved the property, loved the idea behind it, and the deal I had organized with the seller that was anxious to get over there, so he offered me an agreement to take it over for me. So he did a whole agreement with me, and so that was nice. I made the agreement with the owner, and 2 weeks later I wholesaled it to someone else, and made a nice chunk of money for a 2-week period. So that was fun. That was my first experience with just sandwich lease wholesale. And then I bought another property in Sullivan that I lived in for a year, and before I moved to Red Deer, things were moving a little bit slower in Sylvan Lake, so I just ended up putting rental tenants in that home. So they've been there now for a year. they've been paying everything, paying their rent on time, some good cash flow in that. Even if they don't end up buying, there's some good cash flow there. So I've got that one as a rental right now. Then I did another Sylvan Lake property. I'm going to talk about this one in further detail afterwards. This one here, agreement for sale. Then I did an RSP reno, so I had to put an RSP loan on it in the owner's name, and then put rental tenants in it. So nothing on that property is even in my name. So I didn't change title into my name. I don't have a mortgage on it or anything. There's going to be some good returns there. So I'll explain that one in further detail because that's my new favorite strategy. And then so I moved to Red Deer, and the home I'm in now, I did an agreement for sale and an RSP rental. And the point behind that, instead of me purchasing it right now, the RSP rental has allowed me to build a large amount of equity in the home before I buy it. So avoiding CHC, and then including all the renovation costs into my new mortgage once I actually purchase it. So that property that I'm in now, I've built about $170,000 equity in it from my renovation. So excited, we're probably going to be purchasing that one in the next month or two when we wrap up our renovation. And then I have one more property I forgot to add that I bought in Lower Fairview. We call it Riverside. I shouldn't call it Lower Fairview, but so that'll be a hold. It's got a legal up and down suite, and it's got 2 separate garages in the back. So the one garage my husband, who's an electrician, is using for his shop. So now we don't have to rent a shop anymore. I love that. And then the other garage is split into 2 sides, and each side rents for $250. So legal upside down in 2 garages, and great price. So I think that's one that I'm actually just going to hold. We renovated the basement in that, did a whole new bathroom, and painted, and did little rentals like that. So right now I've got 5 doors in my name. One of them's not in my name. So, So, what's the next slide? One thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was, you can't see it very well in here, but I'll just do a quick, one thing I did have to get better at with my investing, and I just wanted to encourage everyone else as you take on properties, is to start a spreadsheet that really tracks all the pertinent information. And I can share this on the Facebook group, and it's just, I had to really simplify the process for myself and just how to track it all. So it would be something that I would actually keep up with. So I just wanted to show an example of the information that I track, not only for me, but for financing purposes. Myself as a mortgage broker, I have a lot of investors that come to me and they just have no idea when their different mortgages are up for renewal, what the payments are, what the taxes are, what the purchase price was when they bought it, and what the purchase date was, things like that. So that's just one of the important things that I wanted to share with people that might be just getting started is make sure you track that information right at the beginning. It's so easy, but when it comes to renewals and things like that, you have that information handy on one spreadsheet, it makes life so much easier. So I do a different tab for every property, and I'll share some of the details on there. And then there is a section on here, cash flow. So a lot of people think when they're buying a property that is cash flowing, that there's a lot of things that they don't calculate in there. So when you're qualifying for a mortgage, it's super important that there's a positive cash flow on any properties that you have, because if there's a negative cash flow, it's going to go against your debt ratios. If there's a positive cash flow, I can basically wash it. So certain things you have to take into account. If you just use an easy rule of thumb and do 20% of rent and take that off the cash flow. So if your rent is $1,200 and you take off $240 to cover any 5% vacancy rate, 5% repairs and maintenance, 5% insurance, and 5% one other thing. So I have it calculated in there, so it'll actually show the cash flow in relation to what mortgage lenders actually look at. So a lot of people say, oh, my mortgage is this, and I'm getting this much rent, and pay this for insurance, so I've got $500 cash flow. And that might not be the way, it's not the way that lenders look at it. Because we have to take into account those different vacancies and things like that. So I I've got it calculated in there so I can see each and every one of the properties what the cash flow is and make sure that I'm staying in a positive cash flow. Some ways to adjust that if I'm finding that the property is not in a positive cash flow is, and I need to spread my mortgage out over a longer period. So even though I can maybe afford to pay it off in 25 years, I might have to spread it out over 30 years to get that positive cash flow and make sure I can qualify for the next property. May have to do a variable rate mortgage instead of a 5-year fix, right? Whatever I can do to get those payments lower, the income up a little bit. And then I also track any of the expenses coming out each and every month of my bank account. And that's something I love having this conversation with other investors is how do you track each individual property bank-wise, right? So what I've started to do personally is create a whole different bank account for every single rental property. I've learned not to put my insurance in bundle packages, even though you save $5 a month on that. I separate my insurance out, and so that the insurance comes out of each individual rental property each month. And every expense, it's all out of the one rental property. It makes it so much easier for the accountants and things like that if it's separate. So I would love any additional feedback. I love hearing how investors do it themselves and how they track all of that for their accountants and all of that kind of stuff, because that's the headache side of investing in real estate. So yeah, that's an important thing there. Oh, I was going to say too, tax returns. So when you're filing your properties or you're filing your tax returns, and if you've got multiple properties, just be careful that your accountant actually does a separate property spreadsheet for each property. So I've seen a lot of accountants try to combine rental income on one rental spreadsheet. So kind of like, what is the page called on the tax return that shows the rental property?
Statement of rent.
Yeah, statement of real estate investment.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a page in your tax return that shows your rental properties. And a lot of investors that I work with, they'll bring me their T1 and it just has one statement. And it'll be like 2 or 3 properties all combined. So it'll say, they're getting $1,200 rent here, $1,200 here, $1,800 here, and it combines it, and then they put all their expenses together. The reason a lot of accountants do that is because the investors themselves are not separating out the expenses. So they'll get a receipt for painting, rental expense, right? And they just put everything as a rental expense, or their insurance is all together. It's like a bundled package, right? So a lot of times the accountants will just bundle it all together as one property. But that can cause issues when it comes time to qualifying for mortgages, things like that. Some lenders will just use the surplus from the actual tax returns, so the surplus or the shortfall on the income on there. And they want to see each property being claimed on your tax return. So that's kind of my one tip from my experience as an investor is make sure you just keep your books separate and clean and track everything on an easy spreadsheet. When it comes time for these properties to come up for renewal, you can just send a package and you've got it all clean.
Sorry, like that.
Yeah.
Not just for requalifying, it's for when you sell.
Yeah.
If you ever get an audit for the building, you see that you want to track it separately because they'll call that anything that they can.
Yeah.
So if you can't prove what your purchase price is, depreciation, all your expenses along the way,
that's right.
Yeah, you'll do
that's right. And I do a lot of work with a lot of investors, and you'd be surprised how many don't track this information. So that's my biggest tip. What else? Oh, okay. And then I said I'd get into kind of some numbers. I wanted to show some numbers a little bit on the last property that I was talking about today. I'm doing the lease, and then I put the RSP loan on it. Oh, I just emailed all these to Sean, so I guess I never saw them in here to see. Okay. I wish I had a really cool, fun name for the new strategy that I've been doing, because you hear about the BRRRR strategy and all these different strategies. So the one strategy that I want to talk about is where I did an agreement for sale, put an RSP loan on it, renovated it, and then put rent insurance in it. So none of it's in my name. And I love this strategy because I was able to really help the seller that was in a bad situation. They couldn't keep up the mortgage. They needed out quick. The home needed some work. I was able to put one of my clients with an RSP that wanted to see a nice return. I was able to give them some nice security, secured against the property to do the renovation, and get a good return out of it. Because I did the RSP loan on it right up front, I was able to actually access some of my return on it right at the very beginning. So I did a $25,000. Can't really read that. Yeah, I did a $25,000 second mortgage. I can see it on there. So $250,000 agreement for sale was what I had agreed with the seller I would buy the home for in a 2-year period. Then I put a $25,000 second mortgage on it. So the future price that I have to buy the home for from the seller is $275,000 because the RSP loan is actually the seller secured on the seller's home. So now I have to pay $275,000. But that extra $25,000 gave me the money I needed to renovate the property. So I ended up putting about $15,000 into the property, held $10,000. Now, part of the reason I did that too, and got a $25,000 RSP is because as part of my agreement for sale, I agreed that for the next 2 years, I'm going to guarantee that rent is being paid each and every month. So they're not having to worry about it. So they moved to BC. Their son had been in the property, kind of wrecked it, and so I was going to kind of fix it. They're out in BC. They don't have to worry about it anymore. They know that it's going to be covered. The payments are going to be covered. So I did the work, and then I advertised for a rent home, and ended up paying a month rent before I found rent home tenants that I put into it. When I put rent home tenants into it, they put a $10,000 deposit down, so I know for sure that it's secure that they're going to buy it at the end of the 2-year term. As a mortgage broker, I was able to pre-qualify them and make sure that they will, and we put a plan in place so we know they're actually going to qualify at the end of the term. I made an agreement for rent to the sellers to pay them $1,800 a month, and that includes the first and second mortgage payments, their taxes, and their insurance. So it covers everything. Plus, I think there's $150, $120 extra each month that goes in their pocket. $1,800. So nothing's out of pocket for them. So they were able to walk away. They don't have to worry about the property. They know it's renovated, and there's not going to be any vacancy. So put rental tenants in it. They're paying $2,000 a month. $300 a month is option consideration. So that means when they actually buy the home, $300 gets credited back to them. So $300 that they paid every month is going to get credited back to them. So at the beginning, I got the $25,000 mortgage. I got a $10,000 deposit from the rent home. I put $18,000 into rentals and set up costs. So I was left with $17,000 in pocket at the very beginning. And then with the difference between the $2,000 that the rental tenants are paying and the $1,800 that I paid with the current owner, that's an extra $200 a month on that one. So at the end of 2 years, I will have already made $21,800 just up front before the home is actually sold in the rent home. And I had actually put someone in a rent home in it at the beginning, and they had actually walked away. So the guy lost his job. He decided he didn't want to buy the home anymore, walked away, and then I actually did have to cover 2 months vacancy. So I was glad that I had made some of this up front. They covered 2 months vacancy, found new rent home tenants. So there was about a $4,000 loss there. So factored income at that point was $17,800. And then the future profit when they buy the home, so I as the rent home, I agreed to sell it to the current rental tenants for $380,000. They've already paid a $10,000 deposit. That $300 a month option consideration that they're getting, that and as it being $7,200, I think, at the end there that they get credited back. And then the $275,000 I have to pay back to the owner, and then there's about an additional $16,800 from themselves. So $17,000 at the beginning, $16,800, not bad for a 2-year period and not even having to get a mortgage. I was able to help the seller get KC. I was able to help a client of mine invest their RSP, their $25,000 RSP, at 12% interest, guaranteed, and I provided the additional guarantee on that RSP. So not only is it security against property, but I provided my additional security. And okay, so just wanted to talk about how I explained the benefit to the sellers. Okay, so what I had explained to the sellers at the beginning, when I looked at the home at the beginning, I had got some property evaluation, property quotes on what the home could be listed for in the current state. So $290,000 was kind of what we said it could be listed for. Then by the time an offer comes in and you're a little bit flexible, you go down to $280,000. Then you take off your real estate fees. Probably at least 3 months vacancy was what we had calculated. By the time they cleaned it up, they needed to put at least $2,000 into it to just clean up some of the damage that was there. They didn't have the $2,000 to do the cleanup. They didn't have 3 months income to pay that mortgage while it was sitting vacant trying to sell. They didn't have that. But say they did. If it had sold after 3 months of vacancy, after real estate fees and everything, they would have made $33,000. But they would have had to put about $5,000 into it from the vacancy rent. Okay, so then I showed them, okay, so if I agreed to buy it from you for $275,000 in 2 years' time, your mortgage is going to be paid down to $217,230. Okay, so they were able to capture that. And then we pay off the second mortgage. Plus, they're earning $120 a month cash flow with the $1,800 I'm paying them compared to their expenses. So in 2 years' time, they're going to be making with their cash flow, $35,650. So they would have sold it at the beginning. They would have made $33,000. With the program that I suggested, they're making $35,000 in 2 years. So it's not, they haven't made a ton by holding the property another 2 years, but they were able to walk away, go to BC, not worry about it, not worry about any vacancy. So it's really a win-win. It's definitely my favorite strategy. Love the whole RSP investing concept. So I've started teaching a lot of my clients how to use their RSPs. Get guaranteed rates of return, usually 12 to 15% as a second mortgage if you're in a property. And I'm doing about 10 of those a year with my clients and other opportunities that come up. And now I've used RSPs myself with real estate investing 2 times. So it's a good way to joint venture with other people in the group that might have some RSPs that are just sitting there and they want to get into real estate investing, but they don't want to get their hands quite as dirty. It's one way that they can get involved. So that's my favorite strategy.
You know, how did you do that with your renovations? Did you have a quote before you went into the unit for sale? Like, what was my cost?
Yeah, because I did tell the sellers what renovations I was going to be doing, right, for them to be okay with me securing a $25,000 RSP. Yeah. So I did get a quote. I think the quote was just over $22,000. Did the RSP loan for $25,000, but then I came in. I did a lot of the work myself. My husband's an electrician, and I just was able to get some cheaper quotes for some work too. We ended up doing it for $18,000 or something. So I just wanted to open it up for questions. Some of the different strategies that I've used over the time, and just see if anyone had any questions about any of the strategies.
So here's one for you now, because I get this all the time, right? Particularly when trying to raise money, using registered funds, it's a scam, it's high risk, and how does this work, and yada, yada, yada. So what's been your most successful approach on actually trying to educate your investors or that person that's got, $100,000 sitting in a GIC that's turning 2% a year, or 3% in a mutual fund, fluctuating so wildly, whatever the case is. How do you get them to go from a situation like that to actually trusting you to, invest their money for them and on your behalf?
I think think one thing that always kind of makes them feel a little bit more secure is that I have an agency. So there's a few different in Canada that can actually manage these RSP loans, self-directed RSP lending is what it's called. So I work a lot with Olympia Trust. So Olympia actually converts people's RSPs and their mortgage or RSP and any of their investments over to self-directed RSP, where they can then choose how they invest it. The nice thing about that is Olympia manages all the payments. So Olympia is actually collecting the monthly payment and doing automatic withdrawals from the bank account and tracking all of that. So the other piece is the lawyer involved. So I have some lawyers that I work with that actually register it on title and register the mortgage. I think that's the biggest thing when I'm telling people about the RSP loan is you're secured against property with equity. So I always show the equity that is in the property. It's secured. A lot of people that do this investing, they either have lost some money with mutual funds and they know that there's no security or guarantee in mutual funds. They've seen their portfolios drop at times, and compared to knowing that you're secured against a property, I think that's my experience is that my investors like that thought that they're actually secured. So if somebody didn't pay and they stop paying, then they can actually foreclose. Their lawyer will take care of that and do the foreclosure proceedings, and they get their money out of it, plus some, right? So the RSP is guaranteed return, a set payment each and every month. You know what you're going to make. There's usually a lender fee up front that covers any of the Olympia costs, any of the legal costs. There's no costs involved. Worst case scenario, heaven forbid, if the client ever had to go into foreclosure, there's immediate fees that are due and payable that cover any of the legal costs. So, I don't know. I guess I believe that it's such a more secure product. And I guess clients have just felt that from me as well. I've had a lot of clients that are really excited and have money in RSPs, and they're waiting for the next opportunity to invest. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And is that just for RSPs, or do you do that with RESPs?
I have never done it with RESPs. I'm not positive. I've done it with LIRAs. I've done it with RSPs. Yeah, you can do RESPs.
And if you have a summer register program, you can do it through that.
You can do it TFSAs.
Yep.
So it's still registered.
I think Sean had a question.
Yeah.
What loan value do you get your clients into on your, you go to full 100?
No, I never go to 100%. I usually try to say 80% loan to value, sometimes up to 90% if there's a really clear exit strategy, it might go up to 90%. So the RSP will use up to 90% of the home value. There needs to be enough in there so that if that worst case scenario ever happened and it ever had to go into foreclosure, that by the time the property is sold and the fees, right, that there's still enough left over to pay out the RSP and cover any fees. So 90% is kind of the highest I've ever gone, but there was really, really clear exit strategies. So like on this project that I talked about, I can't even remember what the loan value was, but the client that did the RSP loan, he was more than confident and comfortable with it because I signed a guarantee in my own name, stating that he can actually go after any of my current or future property owned if for some reason the RSP didn't go through. So he's secured against the property. The current owners had to sign the plus I did the guarantee with all of my equity and anything I owned. So he was more than comfortable in that scenario going up to 90%.
So did it cash flow with the RSP payment as well?
Yes. Yeah, so the $1,800 that I pay the current owner covers their first mortgage, which was $1,080 or something. So it covers their first mortgage, it covers the payment to the second mortgage, it covers their insurance, and it covers their property taxes. So they have no costs.
You ever done it just with balloon payments at the end on the RSPs for cash flow reasons?
I didn't do any balloon payments. No, I just did monthly interest so that we don't have to worry about compounding and any of that. And they wanted to see the interest going into their account each month. So just made it simple, interest-only payments, RSP, and RSP gets paid out when the home sold at the end of the 2 years.
In reference to your RSP lender, and I know it was a smaller amount based on the property value, but and Sean kind of referenced this too. Do you get any resistance about why you weren't putting money, your own hard cash into the deal itself, and how do you address that if you didn't have that resistance?
I didn't have a resistance to no. I think I would just explain that I try to keep as much of my own money free for the next opportunity and the next investment as possible, right? And also, a lot of my collateral and things are invested in properties. So I need to keep enough free to cover any unexpected situations and things like that. So I don't want to use up all of my own capital on investment. I need to make sure that I'm safe in what I'm doing too. So.
Sure, thanks a lot, Danelle. So we're going to take a quick 15-minute break here. A couple things. If you ordered food, please go to the bar and clear up with the girls there. They're going to come hunting people down in about half an hour, wherever they got an outstanding tablet. So make sure you do that. The other piece too is that while you got this break, take it as a networking opportunity, right? Try to meet everybody in the room, hand out business cards, shake hands, introduce yourselves. So, again, you never know who can solve a problem for you, or maybe you can solve one of their problems too. So, the other thing is that some of you who already paid who had already been sent an invoice for your carrier fees for this year. Some of those invoices are still outstanding, so if you haven't paid yet, please just e-transfer the money to Sean at carrier.ca. It gets automatically deposited into Carrier's bank accounts. And again, if you're interested in talking about either membership or the entrepreneur capital raising training that we have coming up here in November, grab me now at the end of the piece. So, if is interested in either this or the Tactical Negotiation Black Book. And really, a really quick note on this. This one is kind of more so used for diarizing your specific deals and negotiations and everything that are coming up. Like I said, Carrie has got a supply, I think, of 10 of each of these that we're kind of sitting on right now. So if you'd like to see it, the ones that are at the back, you guys wouldn't mind just kind of passing them to that side when you're done, and then just kind of cycle through. Just let me know on that piece. So I'm sure I'll do that. Thank you for providing some up. That's perfect.
So you just go to the website?
Actually, just come see me.
Okay, so I have to leave, but I will take it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'll put it on. I gotta send you something else. I'll put it on.
Yeah, just put it all at once.
Perfect. Rejection is part of sales. So I am going to introduce Cindy now. So Cindy, of course, our area president. So we figured why not? Probably one of the best first sponsors to have for the year. Take it away, Cindy.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me okay. I am fighting a little bit of a cold. My throat's kind of scratchy, so let me know to speak up if I need to, or if you have any questions. I don't want to keep this so dry. I can elaborate on realtor material, and so I'm going to just come through the pertinent points of how I can help you as an investor, buyer, seller, etc. A little bit about me. Oh, I also wanted to mention that we did start the group in 2013. Michelle Coster here, she did help start it with me, and we did start with 4 people, grew by word of mouth to 10 people, and then put it online, and it kind of blew up from there. So we're gaining traction, and hopefully a lot of you can stick with us and build your power teams and network and get comfortable being uncomfortable by networking, speaking, reaching out to people, etc. So about me, I actually started out in the architectural industry as an intermediate architectural technologist, much as I love that name, it's so long. Designing and drafting for companies such as Camden Construction, IBI Group, and Stantec. So I have an affinity for real estate, buildings, numbers, etc. So it's kind of like what's laid out my journey for life is buildings and real estate there. beautiful company, very educational, 60 agents, I think, within the Red Deer brokerage, but they didn't have a knack for creative real estate, anything. I talked to agents there, and they're kind of thinking that it's all 1980s, no one does creative real estate, so they weren't really thinking the direction that I really wanted to go. So I went with Realty executives, and yes, so supportive with the agents there, with the broker there, and so many different opportunities for me at that brokerage. So I do love doing real estate investing with that one. I learned how to real estate invest in 2013. Once I learned how to use other people's money, OPM, and leveraging, that's when I learned how anyone could do it. I never really had a whole lot of capital or credit to start out with, and never thought that I could ever get into this thing, because if you wanted to buy a $300,000 home, who had $60,000 to, acquire that property with? So I learned how to creatively get around that barrier, and now I own 4 doors. Love working with investors. Know how to speak engineer. Love working with those clients, and I enjoy art, building, real estate, and analyzing. I am a certified real estate investment advisor through REIN now. I think Sean Gimpy is a real estate investment advisor too. Are you? Not yet? Okay. So I did take the course. I believe Sean was in the course too, and I did go through all the steps of becoming a certified real estate investor through REIN, and I'm a REIN member as well, so affiliated through those networks for deals and connections. So what do we do all day? A lot of people think that we don't do a whole lot in our day-to-day life, but this is not what we do. It's actually a pretty difficult job. We actually do have to make a lot of calls, a lot of marketing, etc., a lot of emails, a lot of connecting. Backwards here. So we do so many things. A lot of people don't know what realtors do. We have to do so many daily, weekly activities just to kind of make it through the days and pay our bills, and a lot of our realtor bills are pretty substantial when it comes to running our own businesses. So as a realtor, for those of you that don't know, we know our market. We like to know our fair market values. I work in the central Alberta area, so I know a lot of the values in Red Deer, Lacombe, Pinoka, Penhold, Silver Lake. I've done deals in, sales in those areas. Within my comfort zone is an hour of Red Deer, so anywhere in between Edmonton and Calgary. We know the potential ARVs, which is after repair values, for those of you that flip, so you know what margins you're working with and what to acquire the property at to make it worth that profit. We schedule viewings, whether it's one or many in one day for buyers and those looking for properties. We have access to so many different criteria on the MLS. So what's out there for the public, they can probably play with about 6 different criteria on the MLS or Realtor.ca. We have access to like about 20 or 30 different criteria. So if you're looking for something specific, call on us and we can structure a specific search for you. Set up an email so that you're only sent those specific types of properties. And then, what else here? Anything from days on market. So if you're looking for sale properties, 120 days on market where sellers might be a little bit more motivated. Separate entrances for potential suited homes, illegally suited homes, etc. Multifamily, commercial, and business types of real estate on there. We work with your time frame, so you have to really communicate with us how soon you want to buy or whether you want to take your time on that. We negotiate on your behalf. We help you determine party motivation. So part of our job is to talk to the other agents, talk to sellers, and see why they want to sell, and try and determine how motivated they are, and especially for investors, we want a really motivated seller so that we can acquire the property for a really good deal. And then during emotional decisions, so many times that, a traditional buyer or seller, they get really emotional over the little things, or, you deal with a husband and wife and, they have differences of opinion, so we try and kind of be the mediator between the two and kind of explain, how to go about thinking about things. So, and then here as a realtor, we really try our best to kind of mitigate all the risk and all that's involved when it comes to purchasing or selling a property to kind of get you the best that you can as a client when it comes to acquiring or selling a property. Any questions there? Yeah. We assist with due diligence, risk mitigation assessments, cash flow analysis. Not many agents know how to analyze properties. What's involved with, the right price for acquiring the property, expenses, repairs, cash flow analysis. I have 2 different spreadsheets that I use for fully analyzing a property from start and to finish, whether it's a rent and hold, fix and flip, etc. So, and the sheets that I have are very thorough. Like, they encompass a whole lot of detail when it comes to the end game for your strategy or plan with a particular property. We help protect your best interests, line up proper inspections. For when you do acquire a property, you want to make sure you get the proper inspections. A lot of people don't know that there's so many different things that you need to consider, like sewer inspections, fireplace inspections. You can get contractor quotes, etc. And we'll help you do that. Again, provide you a focused search for properties that you're looking for, whether they're suited older homes, multi-family, commercial, and we help you structure offers, including implementing the right conditions and additional terms. Finding the right agent. There's so many different agents out there, like in the central Alberta area alone, you're probably dealing with 400 to 500 agents in itself. So who do you choose? Who do you work with? Quiz your agent, ask them certain questions, see if you're comfortable, go through that feeling. Do they own these types of investment properties themselves for what you're working with? So are they familiar with how you want to work? How many different types of properties have they sold? Whether it's suite houses, apartment buildings, commercial, etc. Do they know what investors look for? You want to ask them all these questions. And what else here? Agent-client relations. Basically, if you choose an agent, you really want to communicate with them what you're looking for. And there's different types of relations. As a buyer-client, we have what we call an exclusive agreement and non-exclusive agreement. So you want to be careful when you're signing an agreement. An exclusive one, if you're signing with an agent as a buyer-client, you're committed to using that particular agent. And the exclusive one, some agents are out there specifically using them, but that binds you to using that agent. And with that particular one, any deal that you do, even if it doesn't involve them, like an agreement for sale, Holly brought this up to me one day, that even if it's an agreement for sale and you're not involving that agent, you actually owe that agent part of that commission for what you agreed to in that agreement, the exclusive one. The non-exclusive agreement just outlines how you are to work with that agent when it comes to finding properties and how they work with you, and basically allows you to use whatever agent you want. Sorry. My pen is really foggy right now. I can't really think, so not catching me on the best day. So if you have questions later, I'd be happy to help you, answer those questions there. Here, the qualities that you want to look for in an agent: education and guidance if needed, if this is your first time buying a home. Communication. I love to highlight that. You want to keep working with your agent on a week-to-week basis. Let them know where you're at. don't just leave them hanging, because a lot of the times I'll get some clients and they don't tell me their time frame. So I'll try and keep in touch with them week to week, and then all of a sudden a month later they say, you know what, my credit's not good. And it's like, well, if I would have known that earlier, then I could have adjusted, you know, how I respond to you in your service. Yeah, keep in touch with them. Let them know what you're changing your mind on, your search criteria. Promptness when it comes to communication. I usually answer and respond to calls and emails within 24 hours. Some agents don't like to work on weekends. I work pretty much 24/7, so you want to look for how different agents work and their schedule, their experience as a real estate agent, whether they're personable or caring, how knowledgeable they are in the market, and how they understand your needs, wants, and time frames. So work closely with them and let them know how fast or slow you want to work and how you want to adjust working with them, because we really try hard to accommodate your needs and adjust accordingly to what you tell us. And patience. Yep, be specific with what you're looking for when it comes to investment properties, communicative strategies, and what kind of deals you're looking for. So I like to sit over coffee with investors and kind of outline all their criteria, all their parameters, and really specifically set the relationship up front with how we're going to move forward, and then hopefully build up that plan for buying their first property or planning out their portfolio with whether it's 1 property, 5 properties. I have access to different mortgage brokers that can help them build that portfolio as well. Ask for clarification when needed, communicate regularly as I explained, and purchase contract. So a little bit about what needs to be considered in a purchase contract. Many of you might know already all the pertinent details when it comes to the purchase contract and what needs to be considered as a buyer. Would be the price. So you really need to determine what price works for you when it comes to utilizing a certain strategy on that property. Figure out what goods come with the property. So whether it's appliances, sheds, washer, dryer, equipment, lawnmowers, etc. What kind of down payment you're dealing with, and the deposits that you're going to provide, how much, how little of a down payment. Some people ask me, how much can you put in for a down payment? You can put in as little as $1, but no one usually ever goes for that. So you want to be pretty reasonable. You know, I usually recommend at least $1,500 on a property, but you know, you can offer whatever you like. It shows how serious you are to a lot of sellers. So if you're buying a really expensive property, like $900,000 property, you probably want to consider putting in $10,000. You could put in $5,000, but you want to show them that you're serious, otherwise they won't take you very seriously when it comes to negotiating. Refunds, deposits are refundable before you remove conditions. So if you put conditions on the property, which are all outlined there, you can put in whatever conditions that you want. So if you can't move forward by removing those conditions that you put in the property, you can get your deposit back. After you remove those conditions, then those deposits are not refundable. And if you change your mind between condition removal, or if you can't move forward with the purchase after condition removal to possession date, then you will probably be forfeiting your deposit, and the seller could potentially come after you for additional costs for keeping it off the market and losing the time that they've lost for that they could have done if they weren't able to keep it on the market for that time frame. Possession date, negotiable, terms, negotiable. So certain terms are items that you would put onto a purchase contract that are requirements for any buyer or seller to put in before it's a binding contract. So you could require them to have the house professionally cleaned with the invoice provided to the buyer, or you could have them, repair all the plumbing or electrical within the property if there's items that are discovered at the home inspection. So those are requirements. RPRs, real property reports, and title insurance. Real property reports are like surveys of all the improvements on the property, showing the property lines and the building and any improvements associated within the property lines onto that survey report. And title insurance is basically, how do you call this, an insurance product that covers any additional defects associated with the title or the property that are shown on a real property report. Defects, where was I going with that? Basically, it's a buyer's responsibility and your agent to help any buyer discover any defects associated with the property. We would ask the seller of any known issues with the property, and they're supposed to disclose any issues, especially health and safety defects that are expensive to fix. And for us to discover any other defects, we use a home inspector to discover as much as we can when it comes to that. Leaving the offer open for acceptance is another thing that we need to put into the purchase contract, which is we're going to leave the offer open for 24 hours. It could be a week, going back and forth between parties to come to an agreement. Amendments and addendums are additional items attached to the contract. So amendments are changes to the contract. That's usually after the agreement is made and you want to make changes. Addendums are additional items that you want to include onto the contract. Schedules are like addendums as well. They're additional agreements onto the contract. Different conditions to the offer that you would probably want to implement as a buyer. There's the typical ones are financing conditions and inspections and due diligence are conditions. So basically conditions are items that you would put onto the contract, and the purchase offer is conditional to these items being performed and you being satisfied with those conditions before you remove those conditions from the contract. So for financing and inspections, you would put those on the offer conditional to you being satisfied with your financing and you being satisfied to the results of the inspection reports. And in any event that you can't remove your financing condition because you don't qualify, then you don't have to move forward with that contract. If items pop up in the inspections, then you can, choose not to move forward on that and back out of the agreement, or you could go with different options, which is have the seller fix those items that came up out of the inspection or renegotiate the price. And those are just additional items that you would put as conditions, or that you could consider. Negotiating, these are different items that you can negotiate on, or pretty much all those that are listed there. As an investor, I learned that you should never get emotional about the property. That's usually when you pay too much. If you really feel like you want that property because it's so turnkey, it just barely cash flows, but you just love the property, that that you lose some negotiating power when it comes to that. You really want to try to get as much as you can off the deal. Investors usually buy a property for equity or cash flow, and you have to know that the sellers have the problem. As a buyer, you don't need to buy the property, and you really want to use that against them because they obviously have a problem. They want to sell the property, and you need to use that motivation. Yes.
Good question.
Oh, Nicole.
Hi. What do you think about if you're asking sort of for a lower price on the house, you're making a lower offer, putting less conditions? Is that sort of how?
There's probably different perspectives on that, but as an agent, the cleaner the offer is, how do I explain this? If you're putting in a really low offer and you're dealing with another agent, they would like to see it more cleaner, otherwise they might not take you as serious. So less conditions. I heard of investors putting in like 10 different conditions on there and a low offer, and then usually they just don't like to deal with that kind of thing because, yeah, and then I don't know what your experience is, maybe Sean or Ryan, when it comes to making it lower offers with lots of conditions.
I'll let Ryan speak to this one.
Yeah, I think for me, I add conditions just because it doesn't tip your hand of what's the most important thing. So it might be the price, it might be the condition date, it might be a lot of it might be a lot more, whatever it is. And so I add a bunch of stuff so that I can later trade off in exchange for things that I actually want. And so I'm okay with having more conditions early on. But like what Cindy's saying, you really need your agent on your side because the other agents doesn't generally respond too well to it. Because except to kind of put it from their perspective, they've got to go and explain to their client what's happening. And as an investor, we do offers all the time, so we're used to this kind of tactic. But dealing with someone who's probably the biggest transaction in their life is this, it can be off-putting for them. And dealing with other agents that are not investors, investor agents, they might not even understand what you're doing, and so it can create a really weird dynamic. And the last thing you want is the other agent against you.
Yeah, and it can certainly make it difficult for you getting you where you want to be when it comes to that. I like to present my offers in person sometimes to other agents when it comes to, you know, the type of client that I'm working with as an investor, and just explain to them, you know, this is what they really need out of the property to make it work, and kind of show them why, etc. So
dual offers sometimes works too. You can figure out what's most important to you. So
sorry.
Dual offers, like a low price and quick close, or a higher price and a long close. I mean,
you mean like presenting multiple like scenarios or options?
Yeah. My price is $300 and I'll close in a week, but my price is $315 if I can close in 3 months, because you save all that money and costs of finance and stuff when you get ready to do your flip or whatever. So.
Yeah. You mean like presenting different options?
Yeah.
That work, yeah. Danelle and that
you did that for me, and with at least 3 different offers.
Yeah. And sometimes that creates for the seller, it says, well, I get to pick, I'll pick one of these 3, as opposed to one that they can say yes or no.
Yeah, and I love that strategy. It's like a letter of intent. So what I did was a cover letter to the agent, explaining about my clients, what we're about, and why we want the property, etc. And then I put in 3 other additional pages. Option 1 was like a vendor take back, where she's offering full price with a 10% vendor take back, and all the additional terms outlined on 1 page, because the purchase offer can be quite confusing when it's 7 pages long and they're looking at all this legal jargon. That we simplified it by putting in all the important items down on 1 page, and with a vendor take back, that they would hold back 10%, and then she'd offer them so much interest over a fixed term. And then at the bottom, we'd outline the benefits for them, which they really like to see is, you know, why does this benefit me? Option 2 was a rent-to-own scenario, and then option 3 was a full, just straight-out purchase with minimal conditions, which was quite a lower offer than what they were asking for, and they got to choose. So that can work out well for the seller to feel like that they can choose what works best for them. Due diligence, so much is involved when it comes to doing due diligence on a property, so that's what we're here for, is to help you discover anything that needs to be, that might affect your interests when it comes to purchasing, like multifamilies. Commercial properties, a lot is involved with acquiring those businesses. You really have to look into the books, analyze all the income and expenses associated, what they're filing, what they haven't accounted for when it comes to accounting, and pretty much looking into everything on that. Acreages and farms, so much is involved with acquiring those, and so many different types of property uses that we're here to kind of help you encompass everything that needs to be considered when it comes to making that purchase decision. Selling your property. So on the other flip side of things, when it opposite of buying, is selling your property. So that's what we do, is we help you sell your property for the most that you can get in the current market. A lot of sellers have realized that, yes, we are in a recession, and a lot of them have actually taken quite a big hit on prices these days. So our job is to help make sure that they can still get top dollar and be the property that buyers choose over the 50 others out there that might be like their property. So I like to pride myself on home staging services. So I do use 3 different home stagers that will help stage a property. Professional photography, I think, is huge. You really need to get a professional photographer. I usually pay for these top 2, the consult and professional photography as an agent. Some agents have their sellers buy those services themselves. You can see here on these 2 photos, this one's not staged and wasn't using a professional photographer. This one down here, I know it's not too clear through the projector, but you can see all the fine details in a photo like that one. So it makes a huge difference when it comes to buyers picking yours over the next one. We help arrange for showings. We help investors sell their homes, so we can actually put ourselves into a buyer's shoes and advise investors, sellers of how they should consider listing their property. Of course, they want to get top dollar too, but of course, when you're dealing with other investors, they want to get the lowest amount possible. So we have to actually strategize and plan with those investor sellers on how to really shine a light onto it for other investors. You really want to be on top of the maintenance of the property. No one likes deferred maintenance, and you'll be hit on that big time when it comes to other investors picking up on that property. So you get premium value. You want to make sure there's as little deferred maintenance as you can when you're selling your property. Sale costs, so things to consider when you're selling your property: sale costs, brokerage fees, repairs, legal fees. Be wary of your property condition. Buyers will either pay more for the least amount of work possible, or at least choose another home over a similar home over yours that requires less work. And part of our job is to hunt agents down for buyer comments. So I like to, as an agent, when people are viewing your properties, I like to get comments from other buyer agents or other buyers on what they feel about your home as you sell it on the market, so that we can use those constructively and adjust accordingly. So here's another example of a home that hasn't been staged or hasn't been professionally photographed. And then this is what it could look like after. So huge difference. Would you want to buy this home or that? Very strong differences there. This one's unstaged, not professional photographs. That one's staged. So, huge differences there. Other discussion items. Conflicts of interest. Basically what that is that if you are looking at buying a property that an agent has listed, that agent can't represent both parties' interests fairly, because their seller might want the highest price possible. They do want the highest price possible, and the buyer that they're representing at the same time wants the lowest price possible. So there's a conflict there, and we can't say what each other's motivations are. So I can't say that, Ollie's willing to accept $200,000 even though her property is listed at $250,000 to the buyer. So we have to actually advise you to go into a customer status, which would be just to present your options, or say that maybe you can work with another agent and give you your options in that sense. So I just want to say, be wary as a buyer if you're dealing with a selling agent and his listing, that you just want to be careful of your own interests and whose interests that the agent is kind of working with. Do you have a question? Okay, so multiple offers. It's a whole different scenario there. Market cycles. I'm pretty familiar with market cycles. I follow this example a lot with REIN, and if you've read the book, The Secrets of the
Canadian real estate
Secrets of
cycle.
the real estate cycle.
Yeah, and I can see that how that we can really use that as investors when we're how do you say buying and selling in our portfolios, because you really want to be able to buy and sell in the right parts of the real estate cycle, the booms and the busts, and the fact that booms repeat every 7 to 8 years, and the busts. So you really want to avoid selling during the recession period and try and acquire properties that you can during those. And what else here? Sorry. Part of your power team, there's realtors. I'd like to think that, we can be an asset as a realtor as part of your power team when it comes to educating and making sure that you make the best decisions possible when it comes to acquiring property or even selling your properties. Mortgage professionals as part of your team, lawyers, contractors, coaches, property managers, home inspectors, accountants, and trades. So that's where I'd like to fit ourselves in as part of your advisor team. Sorry, made that really quick. Do you have any questions for real estate agents in general? Neil?
What's the average cap rate of rental properties here in your experience?
Well, they vary so much, and I don't know if there is an average cap rate. I know Warren Heisler might know a little bit more about that, but I've talked to different agents as well, and they come up with so many different numbers. It really varies with properties. I think Central Alberta, you're probably in between 5 and 7%.
Red Deer's closer to 7, 6.5, 7. Smaller community, 7.
What would you classify as a good investment?
What would I classify as a good investment? Well, again, like what investors look for is equity in the buy, potential for there to be value increase in the property, and cash flow.
What are your thoughts in terms of discounting commissions to make a deal happen, or to make work? If you're having an ongoing relationship with an investor, is that something that's on the
So that's a really good question. That's one thing that I was going to elaborate and talk about too, is that investors can be an expensive part for anyone to use. And yes, I have considered and have actually discounted my commissions for clients that I do have good relationships with, and I do offer services like continuous CMAs and advice and phone calls to people that use me for their buying and selling. Don't usually like to work for free when it comes to people just not turning out to be a client. But yes, we can talk about negotiating commissions when it comes to ongoing relationship basis. Is that your question?
Yeah, no, it's just obviously potentially you're doubling it, or you're getting the sale, the buy and the sale, but like you might that, and also just like an ongoing, if you're going to do multiple double-digits of properties throughout the year.
There's a lot of instances where, I'm not the type of person that commissions is my primary interest, right? I really like to put my efforts into building and growing, developing relationships. And yes, I will discount my commissions, to kind of help facilitate any deal, and also depending on the amount of work that's involved. So if there's a tremendous amount of work, then, I might be charging a little bit more. If it's like something that, let's say you find on the market, you've already started, and, I'll say, okay, well, I'll do 50% of my commission just to help you write up the offer kind of thing. Yeah, so definitely. So you have a question.
What about, like, if you find a place, or you find somebody you want to put an offer in, and it's through another realtor is already been listed, and I like to talk to the actual seller themselves, who go through, and like sometimes when the real estate agent talks to the other real estate agent, you don't get to talk to the seller.
Yeah.
And it's nice to sit down with the actual seller and talk face-to-face with the seller. Arrange that kind of stuff?
Yes. We could go talk to the other agent and request that we sit down with the seller, and usually the agent does like to be present as well during the conversation, because they don't want any
anything that would, be negative to, the whole deal and relationship between everyone. So, yes, it is very possible. Any other questions?
Is there any rules with legal suites? Like I heard MTV gave a subsidy of grant or so to build a basement, and then Calgary there was programs that training in Central Alberta. Did you do that?
Not that I know of, unfortunately. No, I think there might be something with affordable housing, but I don't know a lot about that one. Suited homes is a whole other topic. I mean, I could probably talk about that in another session when it comes to buying suited homes, older suited homes, like non-conforming suited homes, conforming legally suited homes, and illegally suited homes. That seems to be, that can get people into trouble sometimes. I had one instance where I sold non-conforming, legally suited home to a buyer, and everything was going well until the hot water tank needed to be replaced. So the plumbers had to put in permit application for that, and then the city demanded that everything got up to current standards, which, that was a big battle. And I think Matthew ended up going to court and fighting with the city to say that, that's really unfair because, it was legally non-conforming. And that can be such a huge issue for, bringing non-conforming to current standards because current standards are so stringent these days, especially with separate heating systems, smoke, separation between the two units, and a lot of things that need to be considered when it comes to making suited homes to current regulations. Anything else? Okay. Well, thanks for hanging in there. I would have done a better job on my first week. I'm only not here right now.
Okay, so we are getting into the last portion of the meeting. Just really quickly, so the staff gave me the outstanding bills for anyone who hasn't paid their bill yet. So, one ginger ale. Hey. All right. A coffee. Hey, sounds good. Another coffee? Somebody takers. Okay, right on. Dave. Black chicken. Oh, I guess that was I'll get there. One was Ryan's, and there was one more coffee.
I have one.
One more coffee?
Oh. That was on your bill. Well, that's what I got.
Yeah. Oh, I was buying that? Perfect. So last piece, what we're going to do is we're going to do deal presentations. So if anybody has anything that they would like to present to the room as a deal, this is your opportunity to speak. Just maybe a little bit of a shameless plug. I'll go first. So we're doing right now we're actually doing a $1 million capital raise for land development and apartments and condo development projects in the Central Alberta area. This is all done in conjunction with the company that I'm in partnership with. So if anybody's interested in getting their registered funds to work, is primarily what we're focused on. RRSPs, RESPs, you got pension liras, tax-free savings accounts, whatever the case is. You can do cash as well, but I'm going to suggest if you have cash, there's probably better places to park it. So I think if you have cash and you're looking for a place, let me know and I'll probably connect with somebody who can sit down with a couple people in the room. But that is the one piece. Now we talked about deal-specific structures and everything else, but basically what we've been doing is that because we're actually securing this money against about 10 different properties when we've been setting these things up. And what ends up happening is that a lot of times we'll have like $150,000 of equity in one property. And what we've been doing is syndicated mortgages, something that I know you guys have been talking quite a bit about. And And what we'll actually do is we'll take 3 or 4 accounts from different Olympia clients, kind of thing. Basically, bundle it all together with one mortgage, and then register it on that property as one specific mortgage. So before, this always used to be an issue where somebody would always have to get registered in second position, the next person would have to get registered in third position, fourth, fifth, and then by the time you're effectively bottom. So this is a much easier way of kind of doing that piece. So it's not all about me, but if you would like more information, let me know about that. There are a handful of other investors in the room who are doing RSP investing type structures as well. And I would encourage you to solicit probably a couple different people and see what their deal structure is and what's better feel for you before just going with one individual person. Maybe Mike, I know you've got one that you want to do. Okay.
Good day, everyone. Just if you don't remember the name, Mike Patterson. I'm here with my lovely wife, Lisa, blue there. Basically, why am I qualified to speak to you guys today? As Sean had mentioned, I am a step-in REIN coaching student. Lisa and I are taking that program right now. I'm also a formally educated home inspector, certified engineering technologist, and I'm a certified project manager. That's my day job is a project manager in oil field. I manage our organization and our clients' finances from anything from $100,000 to tens of millions of dollars. I'm very familiar with estimating, with project coordination, as well as the financial sides of things. So with that, Lisa and I have also flipped five houses now over the last couple of years. We've done all the work ourselves. That really wasn't scalable. We're trying to do that now. So now we are partnering with other general contractors getting that, and we are looking for investors to assist us with the financing. We have one deal right now that we close at the end of the week, and that's sort of what we're looking for is just that final piece to assist with the renovations. We are giving 10% APR to any investors that are interested. If you want to chat with me after, we can definitely make something happen.
Can you speak to just a little bit on the specifics of the deal?
Specifics of the deal? Yeah. Basically, we, following Stefan's model, we purchase property between 40 and 60 cents on the dollar, renovate up to 70 cents. We keep 10 cents of the after repair value for closing, carrying, and closing costs, as well as a little contingency. And then there's 20% remaining for profit, 10 for us, 10 for the investors. The property that we've got is a bi-level, 924 square foot bi-level in Sylvan Lake. Really, this one is going to be just a simple cosmetic and upgrade. We'll put in a new kitchen, new bathroom, develop the basement. Renovation costs are about $55,000. ARV for that we paid $370,000, which leaves a $55,000 profit for us and our investors. Anything else? Anyone have any questions?
Or what's the time frame on it?
Time frame for the renovations is about 10 to 12 weeks. So we'll be starting that by the end of this week. And then hopefully listing or by the end of November.
All right. Great. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
I have a little bit of an opportunity here. I don't know if it's a very lucrative one, but it's something that you could probably be creative with. And it's actually for a friend of my sister's who has a 2-bedroom condo in Sylvan Lake, currently listed for $123,000. And basically, he's done with it. He lives up in Fort McMurray. He used to own it and live in it himself, but he's just tired of property managing, renting it out, and just wants to be done with it for where the mortgage is. So the current mortgage on this one is $111,586. And what else here? He pays $631 a month on the mortgage, and $324 in condo fees, $81.92 per month for taxes. So he called me and asked me what I could potentially, do for him on this when it comes to just him being done with the property. So thoughts went through my head as an agreement for sale, where someone can just take over the property. You'd probably have to rent it out for $1,200. So I don't know how practical that is in Sylvan for that type of property. It might be doable. We did have it rented out for $1,100 per month. Another thought that crossed my mind would be joint venture with him. So in lieu of, just property managing it for him for 10% of the rental value, and he doesn't want anything to do with it, that you could probably either joint venture or do an agreement for sale, take over the mortgage, all or half of the equity that's in the property, and then when it's in a better market, sell it. And for my calculations, you would be getting I think it's about $5,000 per year in principal pay down. So covering when you want to divvy that up with the seller when it comes to selling the property, you can either negotiate it, keep all of it 100% as an agreement for sale, or 50% joint venture, or whatever way you structure it. So if anyone was interested in acquiring a 2-bedroom condo in Sylvan, and not having to qualify for a mortgage or put in any money for down payment.
What's the location?
In Sylvan, it is on the north side of Sylvan, where the school is. Probably 2 blocks in from the beach. And you know where the railroad tracks are? It's on the other side, farther away from the beach. Yeah, address is, if you want to look it up, 4722 44th Street. And it's a well-kept property. I guess he took a lot of pride in keeping it in good repair and good shape. So, if you have any questions, let me know.
Yes, Michelle. There you go.
Great. My name is Neil Irwin. I've been a financial planner for about 30 years now, and I started buying real estate for myself in 2002. I bought 30 homes with none of my own money. The last 3 years, I've moved about over 20 million properties with a new home builder. In essence, I just found a buyer and then we worked out the financials. John's a new kid on the block there. He's got some beautiful homes from this guy. He's an awesome guy. We did a down payment assistance program for the city of Lacombe through the Lacombe Foundation. 13 families got a gift from the Lacombe Foundation for about $13,000 to $14,000 to buy a beautiful townhome. I got that one myself. And recently, over a year now, a year and a half, I got referred to a very wealthy guy. He owns the Mustang Acres, and he's buying 2 brand new modular homes for me to sell for him to fill 6 lots. So, if you know anybody who's looking for affordable housing in the North Red area, they can get into these homes with 0 money down. That's my specialty. I've personally done over 40 rent home projects. I did 16 in Kelowna. I made about $1 million profit on those over about 7 years. So my real expertise is financial cash flow management. Basically, I helped since 2003 generate over, say, almost $60 million of refunds from my clients. If anybody here has a job, I'm here have a job, working full-time as well. And if you're making about $60,000 to $80,000 a year, I can help you get about from $7,000 to $12,000 refund every year for the next 10 years. So if you want to talk to me later, I'll show you how to do that. Real estate is part of that component. Those 6 modular homes in Mustang Acres is the least cost of pad rental, $600 a month. And what else? Basically, I got an absolutely mammoth opportunity in Calgary, which is about 170 condominiums, townhomes on Bow River.
I'm raising actually, and in my career of 30 years, I've raised about over $150 million in asset gathering, placing mutual funds or private investments, apartment complexes. So I was licensed for 20 years to sell security and whatever. But I believe in ownership, controllership, as Robert Kiyosaki says. It's one great talk about how if your hand's not on the steering wheel, you're not in control of the business. You give the steering wheel to somebody else, which is controlling, like investing with control. But you own land, you own the building, you own control the lease contract, you can control the rate of return on your investments. And I'm all about the numbers as opposed to getting, I'm actually in the last probably 15 years become a kind of a ninja room renter. So I rent rooms. It's like running an adult daycare, but it actually maximizes the cash flow of the properties. It's almost a part-time job. It's almost insanity, but I got very callous after a while. But actually, about 20 rooms renting out for $600 a month. In and out. It's a whole different conversation. But it does maximize returns for me personally. So that's what I've got. And thanks. And we appreciate that. I need to have you buy you lunch for this.
Oh, no problem.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Okay, so that's a wrap for us. Just really quick notes. So our next meeting is actually going to be October 13th, 2018. We do invite everybody to stick around if you'd like to network again. You can speak one-on-one if there's a deal that you thought was interesting. And once again, appreciate everybody coming out. If you would like to talk about memberships, whatever it is, I will be sticking around for the next 15 minutes or so. Plus, you can get my contact information from a variety of places. And again, much appreciate it, guys. Thanks for coming out. So.
Thank you. Sorry, just want to mention one last thing. Ross Lido, a rent-to-own kind of coach, also real estate coach, is coming into town next weekend. He couldn't make this weekend, so I invited him by to do a small presentation. For those of you that's interested, watch out for the announcement. We're hoping for next Saturday between 1 till 3 and probably at the Glenn's restaurant. So I'll be emailing that out. He's a good real estate investment advisor and coach.
Sure. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.